What's good, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Zether, and this is What If Naruto Went Back in Time. Enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
We begin our story off with a bit of a strange situation. Many people would probably expect this story to revolve around what if Naruto went back in time and stayed in that time period, but this is more like what if Naruto went back in time and changed an event in history, and that pretty much ends up altering everything that happens afterwards, similar to a snowball effect. That's what we're going to do. This is, in more specifically saying, what if Naruto changed the past? And honestly, I could have titled it that, but what if Naruto went back in time just sounded so much cooler. So we're going with this one. Anyways, though, the way that this is all going to work out, I'm pretty sure many of you guys can already guess it, is this version of Naruto is going to be once he is an adult. Now, why? Because why is it going to be when he's an adult? Well, the reason for that is because I'm basically going to be using the premise of the time turtle. If you guys at all watch Boruto, or you even saw the Boruto filler when Sasuke and Boruto went back in time and Naruto met Boruto, and Jiraiya just had his awesome moment where he pretty much found out who Sasuke was, stuff like that. If you guys saw that, then like you probably already know where I'm going with this. So the way that everything's going to be playing out here is the way that Naruto goes back in time doesn't really matter too much to the story. Just know that Naruto would get a hold of the time turtle and would end up going back in time. Now, one event or another would end up causing for Naruto's time turtle not to take him to the exact location and time period that he was going for, and ended up taking him back a little extra further than what he wanted to. Now, this in turn would end up actually causing Naruto to arrive at a time period in which the Nine-Tails Fox was pretty much attacking the village. Now, on this day, Naruto had just been born, and it is currently like nighttime in the Naruto world. At this point, Kurama is just rampaging around the village, and Naruto would see, as from afar, he could see Kurama just destroying the village, going absolutely haywire. Naruto would look at the village as it was just engulfed in flames, and Kurama would simply be inside of Naruto's mindscape, telling him that this was the day that Naruto was born and that he was sealed inside of him. Kurama would also look at Naruto, who at this point has like a little bit of a horrified expression on his face, but at the same time, he already understands what happened on this day, and he's kind of just prepared of what's going down. So Naruto at this point would have ended up kind of, Naruto at this point would kind of just be at the right place and time, and he would essentially get in the way just before Kurama was about to quite literally pierce his nail right into Kushina and Minato. Now at this point, the Nine-Tailed Fox saw Naruto when he was about to kill baby Naruto, but Minato and Kushina would have gotten in the way. This then would lead to Naruto standing right in the way and actually catching Kurama's whole like hand and claw with his one bare hand, and then revealing like Kurama with his eyes. Like his eyes would turn red, and Kurama from the future and the past would end up having an interaction in which Kurama from the past looks at Naruto and kind of just sees himself. Now, when this interaction happens, future Kurama would end up filling in like past Kurama of the fact that they're there from the future, and to stop acting up, that this will all make sense someday, but to protect that boy that he's going to be sealed inside, because someday he's going to end up saving the world and saving him from the cycle of hatred. Kurama from the past would be like just like so confused and just hear those words and just like pretty much get knocked out. But as it happens, Naruto would immediately grab the Kurama from the outside world or from the past, as he would end up sealing Kurama within a baby Naruto. Minato, seeing this all go down, is just questioning who he is. But the second that Minato sees those blue eyes and that blonde hair that Naruto has, Minato's not dumb. He would definitely be able to put two and two together, as if you guys remember seeing the Naruto movie, Naruto ends up meeting Minato back in time, and Minato pretty much ends up kind of like knowing that Naruto was his son. And kind of the same thing would happen here, where Minato kind of has this understanding that, that's his son. So from here, what would end up happening is Naruto would smile at Minato's direction. Kushina and Minato would both look at him. And Kushina's not dumb either, dude. She's a shinobi. She obviously knows who this is. A mother like does not see their son from the future and just not recognize it. Bulma. Let's just say Kushina, she finds out, you know what I mean, relatively quickly. And so what would end up happening is Naruto just gives both of them a huge smile. And internally, Naruto would be thinking, like, why did I do this? But one part of him would have pushed him to do what he had just done. See, under normal circumstances, Naruto would have let these events play out because he was not there for that reason. He is simply there to capture Urashiki and bring him back to the present timeline. Because Urashiki went back in time and he was gonna mess stuff up in the past. So basically, Naruto was there to kind of like save all that stuff from ending up happening. But instead, a part of Naruto just told him like that he always wanted to know what life would have been like had he been raised by his parents, had Minato still been alive, had Naruto had a mother, had Naruto's childhood changed. This is something that he would have always wanted. And the infinite Tsukiyomi dream that Tsunade had would have given us a small depiction of what would have happened, but I've never been able to look at that infinite Tsukiyomi dream and think of it as concrete evidence for what exactly could have happened, because realistically speaking, I genuinely believe that there could have been more potential with that. There could have been more done with that. And it was just all from Tsunade's perspective. So instead, what if we have it to which Naruto saves himself and gives himself the life that he would have always wanted? After this would have all happened, from the sky, a being, an Otsutsuki, would end up pretty much flying over them, as he would end up teleporting behind a baby Naruto. And when Minato and Naruto both see this, they immediately get into serious mode. Minato would use the flying Raijin mark to teleport baby Naruto back into his arms, and Naruto would rush at him, instantly activating KCM2 to blitz right at his direction, to which at this point, he would create a bunch of mini Rasen shurikens and throw them at Urashiki. Urashiki would dodge out of the way, absorb a bunch of them, and slowly begin to get stronger. Now, Minato seeing all of this go down, he would be like, so he has absorption abilities. And at this point, Minato would give a baby Naruto to Kushina, and Naruto would just look at his father from the past. And seeing as this Naruto was already fought with alongside his father in the Great Fourth Shinobi War, I'm going to be saying that Naruto has a genuine, like, general understanding of what his father can do. So Naruto would pretty much help his father by pumping Nine-Tails chakra into him, and Minato at this point would have ended up having a Naruto Kurama cloak around himself, a one-tailed Kurama cloak. So after this, what I see ending up happening after this is Naruto would proceed to pretty much get into a fight with Urashiki with Minato's help. Now, the way that this fight would have ended up going down was it began with Naruto informing Minato that taijutsu is pretty much the only thing that works against this guy. He can absorb all forms of ninjutsu, and genjutsus don't generally work on Otsutsukis. Minato would be wondering, like, okay, I guess taijutsu is a thing. And in case some of you guys don't know, Minato is stupendously quick. He is fast, and not only is he fast, but he is very, very talented when it comes to taijutsu. So Naruto and Minato both pressing him, with Minato using the flying Raijin to teleport himself and Naruto around, plus their already insane combat speed, would completely outclass Urashiki in every way, shape, and form. Seeing as Boruto and Naruto from the past and Sasuke were able to defeat him, I definitely believe that Minato and Naruto would have had the same exact result. Now, they would both end up pretty much defeating Urashiki, with Naruto essentially having a sentimental moment with his father right after this, pretty much telling him that in the future he did it and that he would proceed to become a great Hokage. He would end up telling Minato that even though he wasn't there, that, he still loved him, and Minato would have a smile on his face. Those events never happened, so he couldn't exactly relate to that, but Kushina, hearing these words come from her future son, would smack him across the head and give Naruto the biggest hug, saying that she is proud of the man that her son will become someday, with her asking him if he ever got a family. Naruto would tell her about Hinata and Boruto, and Kushina would end up telling like Naruto that, well, so I guess she's gonna be a grandmother someday. They have a really cool interaction at this point, and Naruto would then end up pretty much having to go back to the present timeline. However, before doing that, Naruto would tell Minato to become a better Kage than anybody before him ever was, and to train Naruto because this man will appear in the future someday. And if there is a ninjas capable of countering ninjas as strong as that, then their world is pretty much doomed. He would also look at Minato and say that the man under the mask is not somebody to be messed with. And he pretty much ends up leaving. At this point, Minato just looks at a young baby Naruto, and from here, we're gonna have an 8-year time skip to when Naruto was about 8 years old. Now, Naruto at this point would be running around in his house with Minato and Kushina, both just like Minato's being all relaxed. He's reading the newspaper, he's having himself a good time. His shadow clones are in the office doing paperwork, and Kushina is like, Minato, why aren't you scolding your son? You know what I mean? Minato was like, Kushina, just, he's my son, he's my favorite son. And Kushina is just like, Minato, you know what I mean? You know how Kushina is. So, that's all going down, and Naruto's pretty much just, he's just having a mighty fine, just having a good time. At this point, however, both Minato and Kushina would end up saying that, it's training time. And Naruto would be like, training time again. Keep in mind, guys, one thing that I'm going to be making very, very apparent is the Nine Tails isn't actually going to be messing with Naruto's chakra flow, because this Nine Tails was literally told by a future Kurama not to mess with that kid. Like, trust him. And Kurama, if we all know one thing, if we can trust one person, we can trust ourselves from the future, because we're not going to lead ourselves down the wrong path. You know what I mean? Like, if my future self just came in like from like the roof or something, like being like, do this, like, trust me, bro, I'm going to dedicate every second of my life to doing what that future self told me until I get the results that he pretty much ended up telling me. Because, bro, come on now, how are you going to doubt your future self? He's already lived through those events. You know what I mean? So yeah, it'd be so trippy if that actually happened. Imagine like your future self tells you, hey, don't date that one girl, trust me, it's for your own good. And like a couple years later down the line, you end up doing it still, and you're like, so that's why he told me not to do it. Or you just don't do it and you always wonder what could have happened. That'd be so crazy and trippy at the same time. Anyways, though, tangent aside, I need to get back into this story. So during the past couple of 8 years, Naruto, once he turned to the age of 4, Minato would have pretty much put him into a routine of physical training, doing like basic calisthenics movements, and also training Naruto on basic chakra control. So this Naruto is not going to be a slouch by any means. Not only that, but the Uchihas in this version of events are actually going to be having so much different things happen to them. During that 8-year time skip, the Uchihas were not designated to a certain area in the village and like cast aside because of the suspicions that they were a part of the Nine Tails attacks. Future Naruto came in and like helped with all that, so there's no way that any Uchiha member was part of it, so they never end up getting any part of that blame. Danzo was actually taken out of power by Minato because of the fact that Danzo is just plain out corrupt. He is replaced by somebody else. Do you guys know like the interrogator guy, the guy who took place in the Chunin exams? What was his name? He had like, he looked like a total badass, and he had like a scar over his eye. I genuinely am having such a hard time remembering this man's name, but I'm pretty sure many of you guys like know who I'm talking about. He's ended up making the leader of like the Anbu and stuff like that. And no, actually, Fugaku. Fugaku is made the leader of the Anbu Black Ops, like the ones that Danzo had control over. Danzo was pretty much like taken out of power, and now at this point Danzo was like kind of scheming, trying to like do stuff to the Leaf Village because of the fact that he was taken out of power basically. But yeah, anyways though, like I said, Naruto at this point would have definitely been trained up by Minato, and a bunch of the events in the Naruto story would actually begin changing a whole lot. With Minato as Kage, a bunch of the mistakes that Hiruzen would have made in his time of becoming Hokage would pretty much be eliminated. Hiruzen would stay in retirement, and this version of Naruto would actually get to know Kakashi. He would get to know Hiruzen. He would not be hated by the village, and he would end up having a sort of very similar childhood to the one that Tsunade would have dreamt up for Naruto. Not only that, but this version of Naruto would have also ended up becoming friends with Sasuke at a super early young age. And Naruto and Sasuke would have pretty much ended up hitting it off as best friends before the academy even started. With Naruto being the son of the fourth Hokage, he ended up growing up being really popular with the girls, and he just he's having a pretty good time. That being said, let's have another little flash forward to the time that he finally makes it to the academy. I believe he makes it into the academy at the age of 9 because the academy is 3 years long, I believe, or 4. Not 100% certain, but let's just say that he makes it to the academy. And in said academy, Naruto just breaks records on records on records on records. Naruto just starts obliterating a lot of Minato's records that he would have put, because Naruto is not a slouch. Naruto is a prodigy. The original Naruto in the main story was able to master the Rasen Shuriken. He was able to master Sage Mode. And even though he was a knuckleheaded ninja, Naruto was, in every sense of the word, a prodigy among ninjas and shinobi like themselves. Naruto is just absolutely insane when you really stop to think about it. That said, this would like hugely impact the flow of the story for the Naruto world for years to come, and what ends up going down in the years of the academy pretty much ends up becoming irrelevant material, in which Naruto and Sasuke are both just at the top of their class, competing to see who's stronger at each and every single little event. Naruto would have ended up sharing a really happy, positive, go lucky childhood in which he was viewed as a hero in the village for taking in the nine-tailed beast monster, instead of revered and feared and hated in the village that he should have been known as a hero in. So this ends up changing the whole dynamic of the Naruto world. And when it comes to Kage summits and what ended up happening with the situation with Hinata, where she got kidnapped and Neji's father ended up getting killed for that, that doesn't end up happening. Now, the reason that that doesn't end up happening is because Minato isn't like Hiruzen. Regardless of the fact that there was that little situation, if you guys remember, Minato had an encounter with Killer Bee and the Raikage, and he was able to outspeed both of them. So even if the Hidden Cloud Village wanted to do something or wanted compensation for one of their ninjas being killed after attempting to kidnap one of the bloodlines that the Hidden Leaf Village has, Minato isn't the type of person to just sit by and be like, oh bro, come inside, take whoever you want. Like, bro, my village is your village. Go ahead, go ahead. I insist. Minato is 100% not that type of guy. So events such as that, they never happen. I trust me, that stuff is not going down with Minato on his watch. That being said, enough of Minato being the badass of the story. Let's hop into more of Naruto's perspective. During his first couple of years in the academy, he would have been looked at by Iruka in a very positive light, and once it came down to the graduation years, Naruto would have ended up being pretty decent friends with Hinata, just because Minato and Kushina would have kind of like pushed Naruto in that direction a little bit. So Hinata and Naruto are going to kind of have like a little bit of a friendship relationship early on, where Hinata still does like Naruto, but she's a little less shy around him. And Naruto always just questions why she's so shy, you know what I mean? Like, but he never does figure that out, because regardless of him being smarter in this version, Naruto is still our beloved knuckle-headed ninja. So when it all comes down to it, Naruto and Team 7 would end up being assigned to Team 7, and Kakashi would end up still being their Jonin sensei. Now, once that happens, introductions would go down, and let's say introductions change for a lot better. Since Itachi never massacred the clan, Sasuke would never ended up going into this emo persona where he was like, my name is Sasuke Uchiha. My goals are to avenge the Uchiha. Like, that never ends up happening whatsoever. So instead, what ends up going down here is Sasuke would end up pretty much telling a pretty normal, like, hey, like, my name's Sasuke. I want to become powerful and defeat a certain somebody. Sasuke would also want to become Kage when he grows up. And Naruto would end up saying that he also wants to become Kage when he grows up someday. And him and Sasuke both grinned at each other. Sakura, the trash bag, would just be in the background, like, I can't believe I got into the team with the two hottest guys in the class. Oh, you know what I mean? Like she's just like pretty much like creaming at this point, and they're both just looking at her. And she's like, um, um. At this point, Kakashi would tell them both not to eat anything and to meet him at the training grounds. As Naruto and Sasuke both pretty much end up agreeing to meet there, and the next day would arrive where they end up taking place with the belt test. However, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to see what ends up happening in the belt test, you guys are actually going to be needing to keep up with part 2 of this series. And you guys might be wondering, part 2? How do we get part 2? Simply, all you guys have to do is smash that like button. There's no like goal for the video, but just go bananas on it, honestly. Tap the like button with your elbow if you want a part 2, and also make sure to comment hashtag giveaway to be entered in the giveaway I'm doing on the channel. That being said, though, guys, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Zether, and I am out. Peace.